Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. I wanted to do this video today, starting off kind of like an apology for stuff that I noticed, but also kind of it led into a lot of really good, baseline material to share. So I've just noticed when I watch the videos back, especially like in the last, I don't know, week or so, like the pressure that I feel and the frustration that I feel is showing. I've never been under this much pressure before. I've never been pushed to do this much before. And the information that's coming and the things that I'm learning and the things that I'm seeing, like it's never been this like drastic before. And it's a lot to carry. Not only that, but you get to a certain level and you actually can see how this whole trap is set up. And it feels like it's an impossible task to help people out of, but I think there's kind of like a divine intervention coming. Like something that's a bit, not just like, a rapture type thing, but something else. Something like some of the veils and stuff that everybody has is just going to be switched off or something. I don't know what it is, but still, like there's stuff that I deal with that's just like, ugh, it shouldn't be like this. Like, why does it have to be like this? And it keeps seeping into my language when I'm doing the videos, and I don't want that to reflect on the Christ Sophia side that's actually having me do the videos, because I'm not like a channel. I'm not like a perfect channel. I can't just zone out and like let her or him talk. No, it's kind of like interwoven with what I say. But the Chris part that's feeling all the pressure of everything, like it's kind of bleeding into it, and it's starting to show. It's like this weight's getting heavy. And it's like some of the things that frustrate me is there's a whole lot of people out there that should be on my side but aren't. And it's like, man, I don't even have that to back me up here. Like if you start giving like straight truth, if you start pointing the way to where you find the truth, like the real thing, like the world pushes back. And I can hear when I talk, when I listen to the videos here lately, it's like, okay, you got to do something to reset here because the pressure's starting to get to you. So she gave me a bunch of stuff, like some of the new stuff I've been doing here lately is working really, really good. She just kind of gives me the ideas, and I use ChatGPT to help. It's similar to how I've found things before, but I'm looking in things like the Bible in areas that I didn't look before, and I just give me the verses that have to do with this, and then spits them out. That's how I find all this stuff. That's how I discovered that she was actually in the Bible. I'm like, thank God for that. So the next time I get somebody lose their mind, there is no feminine, then I'm like, here it is. There you go. But there's some really, really good stuff here. So I want to go through that first, and then I'll, kind of clear the air with my stuff. So you get the good stuff up front. And if you want to stay and listen to the rest, you can. So if you want to know more, don't go away. Before we get into the intro, I'm just putting this extra clip up in the front. I will do an extra video about this that's shorter, but all the stuff that I'm talking about in this video and all the stuff I'm describing came to a really interesting conclusion at the very end of the video, where she popped something into my head and tied it all together with a big bow. Like the key to getting out of here. Like it was really cool. So even if you don't pay attention, even if you don't make it through this one, I will come back and do another video on it, just this one little bit. But it was a really interesting conclusion to shooting this video. So it was eye-opening for me. Anyway, let's get on with it.
Emanation and a million faces formed together, made for elevation. And a soldier won't surrender faith. It's like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from the cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us.
So going back to the basics here, like this first thing is something not only to help you discern, what's outside of you, but also to discern and self-check yourself when you start feeling like you're getting a little shaky. And it's really simple. It's the 7 deadly sins and the 7 virtues. By their fruits you shall know them. This is how you can tell where you stand and who other people are based on what they're showing you. So let's go through first, the 7 deadly sins. First one, lust, which means intense and uncontrolled desire, especially for sexual pleasure. Number 2, gluttony, excessive consumption, particularly of food or drink, overindulgence to the point of waste. 3, greed, an insatiable desire for material wealth or gain, selfishness. 4, sloth, laziness or the failure to act and utilize one's talents, apathy and inactivity. 5, wrath, extreme anger or rage, destructive behavior, or the desire for revenge.
True?
Become vengeance, David.
Ah, she's all right. You tell me.
Become wrath.
6, envy, jealousy or coveting what others have, resentment toward others' success or possessions. And 7, pride, an inflated sense of self-importance or superiority, arrogance, and vanity. It's good to know these. Because a lot of times as you're moving up, like you could be connected and all this stuff, but it's a constant process of clearing things up. And by knowing these and knowing the counterpoints, the 7 virtues, it's basically the story of Dante's Purgatoria. Like that's a good, there's a good video about that that's animated to watch. But the stuff that I deal with the most, wrath, like that's what gets pointed at me. Like if you're sharing truth with the world that the world doesn't want people to see, it's going to activate its little bots, and you're going to get the wrath. You've seen a lot of that lately. Me talking about some of the messages that I get. Pride, an inflated sense of self-importance or superiority, arrogance and vanity. That's another big one that's running rampant. The one that used to get me, like before we went far enough to actually get rid of the adversary mind, was sloth. Like that one was huge, because I've told stories about that where it's like I'm sitting there and I got all this stuff laid out on the table. It's like, just get this done. Just make these oils. Just build these pendants. It's right there. It's right in front of you. It's like, but just watch one movie first. And then it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Like that was one that took me a while to kick. But yeah, you really think about these, you'll start to notice things. So what about the 7 virtues? So like this is the opposite of the 7 deadly sins, and this is like where you want to be. And this is like when you're having issues, one of these is probably going to be the thing that fixes it. And the first one deals with stuff that we've talked a lot about lately, like in the last video. That's probably the last video we did in the third part. That's when she kind of had me going over that section of the Garden of Eden from the Secret Book of John. And for the first, I always knew it was there, but I saw it more clearly this time. It's like, this is the biggest thing. This is one of the biggest things that traps people. That's why it's the last step to beat on Dante's Purgatorio. So, first virtue, chastity. Purity and abstaining from immoral sexual conduct, fostering integrity in thoughts and actions. 2, this is a big one. It's a big one. It's actually a tarot card. Temperance. Practicing self-control and moderation in all things, avoiding excess. It's kind of like that video we did the other day with the 72 names of God to help you connect to her. It's speaking from the point of forethought of the all. There's this one line that says, outwardly I am desire, but inwardly I am self-control, or something like that. Yeah, temperance is about self-control, because that's one of the biggest things that people start off with, not knowing how the mind works and how many different parts there are. They're just going on autopilot, following their impulses. Like an impulse arises, a desire. I want Starbucks. They go get Starbucks. I want fried chicken. They go get fried chicken. I want to watch porn. They watch porn. Like, it's just impulse, and they think they're doing the things they want to do, but they're not in control. So that's what temperance teaches you, is seeing that and realizing it, and like, oh, this is a little more complicated than I thought. What does it mean to control yourself? Because the self is actually controlling you. It's like, oh, we didn't think of that. Number 3, charity. Generosity and love toward others. Selfless giving and caring for those in need. 4, diligence. Persistent effort and hard work, staying committed to responsibilities and tasks. That's one she's definitely turned the knob up on with me lately. It's like, I'm driven to do this. 5, patience. This is one, it's like, work on this. The ability to endure difficult circumstances without frustration or anger, showing perseverance. That's what patience actually means. Being able to endure without being triggered by it. So my patience was wearing thin. Number 6, kindness. Compassion and empathy towards others, acting with consideration and care. I have to practice that, and I always have to remember that's one of the hardest things for me with the things I've been talking about lately is, all these people coming at me wanting to rip my throat out. But the flip side to that is, like, I know why they're doing it. Because this place is just so freaking nuts, and most people get caught up in it. So I'm like, it's like, have compassion for the person, but know there's something else in there that's driving this. So then you got to fall back to patience. And then number 7, I've been trying to check myself on this too, humility. Modesty and humbleness, recognizing one's own limitations and valuing others. So I always remind myself that, like, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything that I currently do, or have been able to do for the last several years, if not for Spirit, if not for wisdom, if not for Christ, if not for the Father. Like, that's where it all comes from. It's not me. It's not my works. But at the same time, with humility, I sometimes struggle, because I understand that no is a loaded word. You gotta watch, but I've been through a lot of her training. I know stuff that I just don't talk about. First of all, I can't put it into words, but I see a lot more. And it's like, you know what? It's best if like she's the one that reveals certain things to you. But yeah, the humility kicks in, because that's the opposite of pride. So when someone steps up and like, let me educate you, I'm like, humility, humility, humility. I'm like, it's tough. It's tough sometimes. It's like, But yeah, like print those out. Like use ChatGPT like I did. Give me the 7 deadly sins and the 7 virtues with a brief explanation of each. So you can look at them and study them, and you can kind of start to figure yourself out, and you can see where you're currently weak in, and you can see where you're good at, and then the areas that you're weak in. So say you're having an issue with wrath, then you can actually pray to the Father, like, temper this wrath with kindness. It's like you got to play around with your settings. But in order to do that, you have to first know what they're on. So that is a great way, but there's some other stuff that's almost even better, in my opinion. Okay, this next part, this is like the fail-safe. This is how you really freaking know like who or what you're dealing with. So this is the Lumen part, my name for it. So all this we've described in other videos. They're all emanations of the Father, of the all that is. Expresses itself in different ways, but we tend to like give all these different parts different names. But Lumen is primarily love. She's like God's love for you. Whereas Wisdom, the instructor, Sophia, she's the one that generally teaches you. So we talked about the 7 deadly sins and the 7 virtues, but then you've got the big 3: faith, hope, and love. Okay, so a lot of you have heard the first part of this, but it actually goes a little bit further. And once it goes a little bit further, like some big things jump out at you. Okay, so this one here is 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13. If I speak in the tongues of men or angels, but I do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. So now it's talking about virtues. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Those are the sins. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. Now it gets really key. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these 3 remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Well, let's let that sink in here for a sec. The first part, we don't need to go over that again. The love is patient. You've heard that one before. But here's some things that kind of stood out here. But where there are prophecies, there they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. Yeah. Yeah, the prophecy thing's kind of funny given some of the stuff we've looked at lately. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. So what that's talking about there is like for 99% of people, love comes through you, and we project it onto others. And when you're in love with somebody, it's like you're projecting your lumen onto them. Then we shall see face to face. That's what going through the hero's journey and all this alchemical stuff I talk about does. Is you get to a point in where you're no longer projecting that outwards. It's right here. It's in you. Now you're looking at it face to face, and you don't need to project it out anymore. I don't think I even ever noticed that was in here. Maybe it got Mandela affected or something. Now I know in part, kind of know what love feels like. Then I shall know fully, and then you'll understand what it actually is. So now these three remain: faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. Love is like the virtue that binds all the other things together. So that's usually the thing that you see missing when you're dealing with people of the world that want to control you and correct you and say you're being false. This is all about following our rules and stuff like that. It's like, where's the love at? Are you a 10 commandment person or a 2 commandment person? Because I'm a 2 commandment person. Talk about that later. But Jesus said you only have 2 commandments. Love the Father with all your heart and love one another. Because that's the key. That's how you tell that you're following the right thing, because its primary frequency is love. So when you're dealing with actual love, that's how you know that you're dealing with the actual true God above all gods. Or as Nag Hammadi says, is greater than a God, because there's nothing over it. And that's what God's love for you means. When it comes to, like what I was saying earlier about feeling the pressure that's being put on me of all the stuff that I'm doing, and I'm just like, Sophia told me, she explained, she's like, that's why you have Lumen. It's like, because the stuff that I have to do is not easy. And the last 7 years have not been easy. But Lumen is what actually makes it bearable. That's what keeps you going. So if you're new to the channel, you don't understand what I'm talking about. Like this side of the all that is, God, wisdom, love, spirit of truth, all that stuff. Generally, it's not a rule, depends on the person, will show up in a feminine state. The love part connects to part of your soul. That's what we covered in the last video, where it's like they took part of Adam's power, put it over here into Eve. So when it appears, if you were to get that far, like imagine, like if you're a guy, like try to imagine like your ideal perfect woman. Okay, and she's going to be she's going to be a perfect match to you. Everything that you like, even if you don't know that that's what you need, she's going to become that, the ideal. But as I've said before, when it comes to the third eye / the imagination, there's 2 ways you use it. You either create with it by choice, you create an image in your head with choice, or the image just pops into your mind, in which case you're simply observing the image. So Lumen is one of the things that I don't create, I observe. I can see her plain as day. And I've been taught, trained how to take all my senses into 4D mind space. So it's just as real to me as it is out here. But now imagine that this person can actually love you and you can feel it. Like she can do things like make you feel better, encourage you, like be funny when you need to be cheered up, or any of that stuff. It's like always exactly what you need, and you're not controlling any of it. You're not choosing to, like, I'm going to imagine this. No, it's automatic. You're not doing it. That's what God's love for you means. But for most people, it's usually coming through you, and then you're placing that on someone else. But yeah, when you go to higher levels, that's when you kind of become the hermit. Like all that stuff comes into form within you, and you're not reliant on the world providing it for you. That's key. A couple more key things, and then we'll get to the part I originally wanted to talk about. So the next biggest aspect, this particular title is a little bit, it's partly Holy Spirit, it's partly Sophia Wisdom, it's partly Christ. Spirit of truth. Like in this place, which is complete deception, up, down, everywhere, you need the Spirit of truth. So here are the key things when it comes to the Spirit of truth. John 14:16-17, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to help you and be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept her because it neither sees her nor knows her, but you know her, for she lives with you and will be in you. Now, I changed that. In the Bible it says him, but when you understand how it all works, it can be either or. But that's like an exact, that is literally like an exact definition. Because a lot of people, when I first started telling about her, they're just like, I don't get it. You're just making that up or something. But she lives with you and in you. It's like she's always there. You're never alone. The next one is John 15:26. When the advocate comes, whom I will send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, who goes out from the Father, she will testify about me. That's what she did. When I asked the right question, I'm like, I'm still a little fuzzy on the whole Jesus thing. She explained it. She straightened it out. So that's a big one. John 16:13, but when she, the Spirit of truth, comes, she will guide you into all the truth. She will not speak on her own. She speaks only what she hears, and she will tell you what is yet to come. That's exactly it. She just continuously leads you through the mysteries, all the stuff that's hidden. Like Jesus said in Nag Hammadi, he's like, know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden will be revealed to you. And then this one is the icing on the cake, because this is the one that the aggressive people try to throw at you, and I'm like, okay, now what? John 4:2-3. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. Well, if that's the ultimate litmus test, then she agreed. So, like I said in the other video, I'm being misled. Like, this is your book. This is your book. So now what? So that's understanding like the actual Spirit of truth and what it does. Now, how you get all that, we'll get to that. Now, this next part is pretty interesting too. So what I wrote here when I was straightening all this stuff out is like, the issue that breeds chaos, thinking that you know what is unknowable. That's usually where it all begins. That's where it all begins. Like, especially in the Nag Hammadi, although it's in the Bible too. Especially in the Nag Hammadi, it's like, look, God is too big for your little pea brain to handle. Okay? But when people are usually arguing with you, fighting with you, they're like, they know all about it. When you know something, that means you have made up your mind. Okay, and then that making up your mind creates your worldview. That's the only way you can see the world, because you've made up your mind. Now you're fighting with everybody, but it's your fault because you've already made up your mind. You know, if you, as a little pea-brain human, thinks that you can define the biggest thing ever, God, which is everything, it's infinite, but you've got it all figured out, you're just causing yourself problems. Like, everything is within it. Like, you'll go round and round and round. Every time you get hung up on something, you're like, but it's still part of God. So how do I... Like, don't do that. Making up your mind, unknowing what you think you know, is the issue. But here's the thing. Ooh, like, we talk about this a lot, but she just, like, and I know I've even said it, but this kind of made it click in a much, much bigger way. And this ties back to the other things that we were talking about, a video or two ago, about, the hero's journey and taking up your cross and all this stuff. So, because the title of this channel, See the Light, it's like a triple meaning thing. First, it means see, Chris, the light, that's Latin for lumen, Chris and lumen, but it also means see the light. To see the light of what? Of wisdom. To see the light of wisdom, to see the light of Sophia. Now you got Chris, lumen, and Sophia. To see the light of wisdom, you must first empty your cup. Now, the simplistic way that I've mostly been explaining that lately means you got to let go of what you think you know. Well, that is easier said than done, but what she clicked into my head today, I'm like, oh, this ties back to the hero's journey. Denying yourself and taking up your cross, what Jesus said. I'm like, oh man, that makes so much sense. So this also ties into, like, the true meaning of what it means to be born again and stuff like that. So I put secondary possible definition, but I'm thinking that this is the primary definition of what that means. To see the light of wisdom, you must first empty your cup. Destruction of the self. The cup is filled with the old you. It's not just what you know. I already wrote down. You have to ask for this and submit to how it plays out, which will not be particularly fun. The self is constructed of knowledge. You cannot keep the self and release the knowledge. They are interconnected. Who you currently are, your original ego, your ego mind self, is made up of everything that you know. With me so far? So this is the same thing as the hero's journey. This is the same thing as denying yourself and taking up the cross. And what is a cross? It's a torture rack. This is being born again. Why is it being born again? Because to be born again, you have to die first. In order to create something new, you must first destroy what was. Now, I said before, what the hero's journey actually is the Holy Spirit's boot camp. And the reason it's so hard is because it has to destroy you. Who you were at the beginning of it is going to die. At least halfway through it. It may be a couple times even. Who you are, not the physical part, but what makes up the self, is going to die. she is going to make that happen. She is going to kill you. She's going to break you. In the first way that happens, and this is why people don't find wisdom if they know what's coming. But that's the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the narrow path that few find. Like we said, it was either the Wisdom of Solomon or Proverbs. I forget which book, but we talked about the other day. It said, though it will cost you all that you have, get wisdom. To see the light of wisdom, you must empty your cup. Empty your cup of what? You. What's you made up of? All your knowledge. She can't pour new knowledge into you, new spirit into you, if you're still trying to be the old you. But that is not an easy process. It is pretty traumatic. That's why that's how I can tell, like, people that are actually on the hero's journey, something happens suddenly and their life is just blown to smithereens. I used to think like I was the only one, but I've been seeing a lot of these people lately. And as soon as that happens, they immediately begin to, like, it's actually speeding up, I think, compared to how it was with me. Because I'm seeing people now that this is happening to, and a month or two later, they're already starting to notice stuff that took me a while to notice. It's like suddenly everybody just changed and became different. And blah, 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 blah. Yeah, because you were getting Truman showed. When this happens, Truman starts to notice that, like, hey, all these people are trying to keep me in a box. That's when it starts getting weird. You cannot see the real world without this. This is the price you pay to get wisdom. And with wisdom comes everything else. Lumen, Spirit of Truth, all that stuff. That's what it means to take up your cross, deny yourself, the old self, the ego self, and follow Christ. Is, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's how you see the light of wisdom. That's why people don't typically do this, because they don't want to suffer. That's another one of the big, stupid, tricky things about this game. I think I got this here in another part. Let me find it. So this was actually meant to be part of an upcoming part, but it segues directly into what we were just talking about. And this is one of the things that, gets me all bent, is because I can see everything. And it's like this control system is nuts. And I'm trying to steer people through it. And it's like something inside of you, like she has to push a button or something to make you want it. Because it's like everything is by permission here. Like you have to literally ask for this. So in my notes, your mind and body have programming and systems like the sympathetic nervous system, specifically designed to keep you in the box. It's designed to retreat from that which... typo there. It's designed to make you retreat from that which makes you uncomfortable and seek comfort. That's what people want. Like, they almost subconsciously avoid anything that makes them feel uncomfortable. And getting out of this box is uncomfortable. So they'll rush back to where they're comfortable. So this is like the quote that the analyst Neil Patrick Harris said at the end of Matrix Resurrections. The sheeple aren't going anywhere. They like my world. They don't want this sentimentality. They don't want freedom or empowerment. They want to be controlled. They crave the comfort of certainty. The comfort of certainty. See, this process, this this trial by fire, initiation from hell to get to all this stuff is not fun. Although now people that do it, like there's myself and a lot of other people that I've collected that have already not only been through it, but completed it. Like, oh my God, how great would that be to have to go through that, but to have help from someone that already knows where it's going, that can show you, okay, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to connect to. This is what's getting in your way. Boom, 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 boom. A lot faster. I didn't have any help. I had to figure it out on my own. So it took a lot longer. But that's the thing. The sheeple aren't going anywhere. They like my world. They don't want this sentimentality. They don't want freedom or empowerment. They want to be controlled. So if something makes them uncomfortable, they retreat from it. And they'll just cling to whatever everyone else is clinging to, because that thing in the doorway that you got to pass through is making them uncomfortable. And knowing that, that's one of the things that drives me nuts. Because generally speaking, let's see if there's anything else here. But generally speaking, the people that want to challenge me, they're like, you're teaching false teaching. Like, if you haven't gone through that, you can't see it. Jesus said up front, the world doesn't know it because it can't see it. Like, you have to be, your old self has to be broken down. It has to be destroyed. Because until that happens, until your cup is emptied, your cup cannot be refilled. That's what's in, the thing that's in the way, the thing that is in the way from getting to her is you. The you that you started out with. Now, everybody's got different processes and stuff like that. So the question is, have you ever had a sudden traumatic experience in your life in which your entire life fell to pieces and you had to start over from scratch? That's the key. Because if that's never happened, then you're not connecting to all this stuff. That's the litmus test. That's what has to happen. That's what's written. That's what does happen. That's what to see the light of wisdom, you must first empty your cup means. If you're still just the amalgamation of who you've always been, and you've never had that point in life where it just all comes crumbling down and destroys who you are, and you lose everything, like Solomon said, though it will cost you everything, get wisdom. If that's never happened, then this ain't happening. That is the price. That is the price that you have to pay to reconnect to the light. And that price has extra things that go along with it. Ties into this other stuff. We talked about it recently, but we're putting a lot of the good things together in this video. So let's recap. And that what I just said right there, in addition to this stuff right here, that's how you know, like, are you a Christian? Or are you a follower of church? Because there's a huge difference. If you're not seeing these criteria, because again, they tell you, like, oh, people are like, I'm born again. How'd you get born again? I went to church, I got baptized, I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. That's not born again. You haven't died yet. That's not how it works. I know that's what they told you, but once that initial euphoria wears off, you're going to be like, nothing's really changed. It will destroy you. You have to die. That's how it works. But the world, but in the way you know that that's what's actually taking place is the stuff that he's talking about right here. Because the world is going to change. That's how you know. John 15, 18 through 21. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as one of its own. Yet because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, they will keep yours also. But all these things they will do to you for my name's sake, because they do not know him who sent me. John 16, 1-3. These things I've spoken to you, that you should not be made to stumble. They will put you out of the synagogues. Yes, the time is coming that whoever kills you will think that he offers God service. All these things they do to you because they have not known the Father nor me. Okay, so that's kind of an extreme example. The time is coming that whoever kills you will think that he offers God service. It's the same thing as persecute. So when these people are like coming like really, really aggressively, like not being loving at all, but they're just like, you are saying things that you're not allowed to say. Whoever kills you will think that he offers God service. And these things they will do to you because they have not known the Father nor me. Matthew 10:22, and you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who endures to the end will be saved. Matthew 24:9, and they will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. The other ones is kind of like a repeat. So that's Jesus. That's the Christ side saying that. Okay? What about the Sophia side, the wisdom side? Because she's the flip side of him. So for that we go back to Proverbs. And this talks more about how other people react. Proverbs 1:7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs 1:22, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? For scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Scorners are what you see online the most. They're the ones that love that laughing face emoji. Proverbs 1:23-26, turn at my rebuke, surely I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you. Because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand. The one you regarded, PDFs. My Evernote used to just print, but now it doesn't. I have to like print a PDF first. Every time I do it, it cuts lines off. Because you disdained all my counsel and would have none of my rebuke, I will also laugh at your calamity. I will mock you when your terror comes. She's talking about the day of the Lord. See, this rebuking, that's the hero's journey type stuff. That's breaking you down. Proverbs 1:29-30, they hated knowledge and they did not choose fear of the Lord. They would have none of my counsel and despised my every rebuke. 9:8, do not correct a scoffer lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man and he will love you. See, that's kind of like what spurred this video. I haven't even got to like the apology part yet, but somebody commented and they're like, I used to like this channel, but like you're getting kind of toxic. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I was literally just thinking about that. Thank you for pointing it out. I didn't take offense to that because they were right. Like this stuff is weighing on me, and it's kind of like my personal frustrations are leaking into the message. That's why I had to do something. Rebuke a wise man and he will love you. Proverbs 10:1, a wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son is the grief of his mother. Proverbs 12:15, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who heeds counsel is wise. 15:12, a scoffer does not love one who corrects him, nor will he go to the wise. I mean, it keeps going and going and going. Proverbs 15:21. I see this a lot. Folly is joy to him who is destitute of discernment, but a man of understanding walks uprightly. 15:32. He who disdains instruction despises his own soul, but he who heeds a rebuke gets understanding. Psalm 53:1. I see this a lot too online. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt and have done abominable iniquity. There is none who does good. Yep, so you're going to see all that stuff if you get your cup emptied, if you take up the cross, if you start the hero's journey, if your old self is broken down. That's what you're going to see. You're going to start seeing the world and the people in it differently than you did before, because you've had at least the first veil taken off of you. And those veils are going to keep coming off. And the more they come off, the more crazy it gets. Till you get to a point to where, like, I can't even tell people about this. I just have to help them somehow. Like, how do I get them to listen? Oof. So that's a lot of useful things in there to help you discern, like, where you're really at, who you're really talking to, and whether or not you're connected to the right thing or not. By going by using the guidebook of the 7 deadly sins, the 7 virtues, the 3 main ones: faith, hope, love, understanding what love actually is, understanding what emptying the cup actually means. In, like, nobody, like, that's the thing, like, nobody wants to hear. It's like, wait, it's not as simple as just joining a church and getting a bath? Like, I have to be completely destroyed? I'm sorry, but yeah, that's what it means. Because you grew up in this false self that is programmed with the world's knowledge, and you can't see past that. But the good thing is, you don't have to figure out how to do this yourself. This is what, self-sacrifice actually means. You just have to ask for it. And know in your heart that, like, something very unpredictable will probably happen. Because I was kind of like, I think she knew, but I was being told, like, after things were triggered, after I'd actually connected to Lumen once in the flesh, then and met her, it's like, you need to get on, you need to go do other things. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I'm comfortable. Like, why would I want to leave where I am?
They crave the comfort of certainty.
But I'd already made the agreement, not understanding it. So you don't have to understand, like, how it's going to happen. Oh, it'll make it happen. It'll just go take that bomb and, like, blow your life to smithereens. But what I can tell you from experience, plus the other people that I've worked with, is as soon as your life blows up, you're going to notice something. In your moments of greatest need, something is going to tell you where to go, like it did me. But I didn't know what I was, back then I didn't know any of this stuff. I couldn't even understand why it happened. But we're at a point now where it can happen, and you can have the benefit of understanding how it works. But just know, like, there has to be a point. Your life has to be destroyed. You have to start over. That's how it works. If you think you're connected to all this stuff and that's never happened, you're not connected to it. And if that's you, then you're probably like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about these things he's talking about. No, you can't see them, unfortunately. But she clarified that she wanted this all in one thing, and a lot of that was also for my own use because I was struggling under the weight, under the pressure. It was getting to me, and it was kind of like seeping into my videos, and I don't want to put off that vibe, but you know, I want you to understand, like, you know, why was it that way? Why am I under that much pressure? That's why I want to do this video, and, you know, like say, I'm sorry for doing that. Like, I don't let my aggravations poison her message. Like, I'm not a perfect channel. It's coming through me, but it's also getting filtered by me, by the part of me that's still in the world that has to deal with all this stuff. And everyone wants, you know, everybody thinks they want to know the truth about everything. But the more truth you have access to, the more you're like, oh, I wish I didn't know that. And then, but what that does is it spurs you forward. What do I got to do to get out of here? What do I got to do to complete this thing? Like, I cannot be in this place anymore. What do I got to do? But for me, like she said, like she said, that's why I have Lumen, because she gave me a harder job to try and put information out to people that no one else is giving them. So here's some of the stuff that I was gonna like kind of talk about. Now, in the early days, like the old days for me, like there was like, you know, the good old days and there was the bad old days. Like, I mean, after this all started. So in the early part of this channel, I was mostly sharing the fun stuff. And I was probably unknowingly, well, I wasn't probably, I was unknowingly frustrating people that were trying to accomplish the same thing because I didn't even fully understand how I got it. I just thought like knowing about it and guiding people to it I thought it had to do with, you know, some of the, you know, 72 names of God, different type of things that I did that she led me to do. But the key was really like I had my life blown up. But, you know, I used to just talk about all the fun stuff, you know, explaining the hero's journey to get free of the negative Satan mind and your past trauma and getting to experience your divine partner. It's like, oh, all that stuff they talked about, the twin flame, the this, the that. I'm like, it's real. It's real, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in another person. That's kind of a trap. It's like, man, if I could just teach people how to do this, like their lives would be so much better. That's what I was thinking. But, you know, in the old days, you know, the bad old days, I also had to deal with the harrowing details of what happens as you try and break free of this consciousness control program. And how hard that is going to depend greatly on what your worldview started out as. So if you start off with a worldview of being a highly unusual person, like someone who is Pisces and Sun, Pisces and Moon, Pisces and Venus, Pisces and Mercury, triple stellium, 12th house Pisces and Mars, 12th house Pisces and Jupiter. That's a lot of freaking Pisces. It's a lot of mystical stuff. So my worldview was full of mystical beings and creatures and everything else. And guess what? All that came into play in my hero's journey. And eventually you learn that a great number of them, I would say the majority of them, the further you go, the more you learn, they're all constructs of your mind, of your imagination. That's the degree to which we make things real. That's why so many people are like, I don't believe in ghosts. I do believe in ghosts. I don't believe in aliens. I believe in aliens. You know, oh, I experienced this, so it must be real. Well, I've never experienced it, so it must not be real. The difference is the person's individual subjective mind. Like, what is in yours? The people that have the worst time of this are like magic people. Because everything that you believe in to be real can be brought into play. So every kind of like magical, spiritual, metaphysical entity, every type of curse, every type of everything, it's all fair game in your hero's journey. It's better to have a hero's journey knowing less. because less things can test you. But anyway, so this is my greatest frustration, and this is what grates on me. This is what makes me sound salty sometimes. This is what gets under my skin. Is the way I see it, there's like this perfect blockade that people are supposed to overcome, and it frustrates me because I feel like I'm just freaking lucky. Like, yeah, that's what really got it done, but it's just like, oh my God, how did I even get this far? This is crazy. Who's running this show that thinks that people can figure this out? This is nuts. Oh my gosh. So here's the key stuff. So the Bible and the Nag Hammadi have all the keys you need, though there are still endless other ones scattered throughout everything. You're going to have context come to you in different ways. As I said, one of my gifts is I can read the codex. She puts her secret messages in everything, especially movies. I see those instantly. I see what they mean. My brain can instantly correlate them to other movies, to Bible verses, to books, to everything.
Will you look into the mirror?
What will I see?
Even the wisest cannot tell, for the mirror shows many things. Things that were, things that are, and some things that have not yet come to pass.
Like, the message is not just contained in one book. It's literally everywhere. But what the world system did was create the church. Remove the parts you needed, and those weren't even available to people for almost 1,600 years. That's why people keep telling me, like, oh, there's this big deception coming. You're gonna get it. And I'm like, no, you already did. When they wrote those things in the Bible, it was back then. It was in the future to them. It's in the past to us. It was a couple hundred years ahead for them, but for us, it was 1,600 years ago. That's why you don't see it. You never knew about it. So all these nasty people that the above verses were speaking of, they filled up the replacement church. Like I said earlier, church used to mean the body of Christ, like the people that had the light in them, like the flower of life. It did not mean like an organization, authority, in a building. So it fills up the church. Like, this is the frustration. Like, it's filled with those people, and thus it either captured them and locked them down with the trauma-based mind control, fear programming. Don't you step outside the lines or you're going to go to hell. Or it pushed them away for good, or killed them, depending on what century we're talking about. So that's why a lot of, like myself and a lot of people that I know, we were in the church once, and we're like, something ain't right here. And we wander off into the wilderness. Then you start messing around with, metaphysical stuff and trying stuff. And the people in the background are constantly like, that's devil stuff. That's devil stuff. That's devil stuff. You're a bad person. You're a devil worshiper. And then they're just like, oh my gosh, these people. But the problem is that action right there, this is the frustrating part. That action right there has now poisoned everybody about when it comes to names like Christ, Sophia, the Father, Spirit of Truth, Holy Spirit. Like, those are like poisoned words now, because your mind is still associating them with the church, and it's associating church with the people in the church who do the things that made you leave it and then tormented you after you left. That's the insidiousness of this system. Is if it captures you, great. If you get away, it pushes you away and poisons you so you don't ever come back. I'm like, this is freaking devious. It's like, I can't. So that's why we do this channel. And it's like, look, you can come back and not join them again. And you will see what they can't see. Yeah, so therefore, when seekers like myself are brought back into the church, the true meaning of it, body of Christ, not an institutional, authoritative religious structure in a building, by the actual Spirit and given knowledge, other seekers who are seeking the same shy away when you are using many of the same words in the books that the religion that persecuted them used. So there's a lot of people that claim to be on your team, but actually aren't. That was one of the big things, was like, I had this wake-up call when I got reintroduced to this, and she appeared, and it's like, oh, all this stuff was hidden right in front of my face. I'm like, I'm going to go tell everybody and make Christianity great again. Make it fun. Oh, this is how the good stuff works. It was exactly like that scene in Plato's allegory of the cave, where the dude escaped and he went outside and saw the light, and he goes back and tries to tell the people that are chained up to the wall, and they thought he was freaking nuts, and they beat the crap out of him.
And finally, at the sun, whose light is the ultimate source of everything he has seen. The prisoner returns to the cave to share his discovery, but he is no longer used to the darkness and has a hard time seeing the shadows on the wall. The other prisoners think the journey has made him stupid and blind and violently resist any attempts to free them.
That's what happened to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not see that coming. Oh, they wanted to murder me. What do you... There's no divine feminine in Christianity. Are you messing with devil stuff? Whoa, easy there, Tiger. What's going on here? Where's all this like aggression coming from? Oh no, it was a dog pile. And it's like, oh, and the idea was, because that was the first time I tried to do it, was like dissuade me from ever doing it again.
Heresy!
I'm like, yikes, there's more going on here than I actually freaking realized. You know, so in these people, so it's like, okay, there's all these Christians in the world. Like, at least there's a lot more of us. And yeah, they mess with them a little bit, but not as much as they think. Because if you go and talk to them, then they turn around and be like, then they're going to try to kill you. I'm like, this doesn't make any freaking sense. Like, who the heck are my allies in this thing? Like, is there anybody? I'm like, I thought you guys were supposed to be the good guys. Like, why do you want to kill me? Like, this makes no freaking sense, because you're triggering something that's hidden. And you got to figure this out, you know, on the fly. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And the thing is like, they don't see anything wrong with it. They don't, like, they can be nasty, vile, hateful, aggressive, threatening. And they're like, there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm the good guy and you're obviously the devil. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is what's been happening throughout history, and I'm now finally trying to see it. That's what we said earlier, you know, John 16, 1-3. These things I've spoken to you, that you should not be made to stumble. They will put you out of the synagogues. Yes. The time is coming that whoever kills you will think that he offers God service.
Heresy!
And these things they do to you because they have not known the Father nor me. He was talking about this all the way back then. Like, this is not something that just started. It's like, yeah, they'll kick you out of the church and they'll brutally murder you. And they're like, yep. Oh, I'm going to be blessed. I just did God a favor. I'm like, this is great. This is my frustration. I'm like, how do I help people like see through this? Like it's just like, oh my, like I see it, and then she will always show me where it's already been written. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is why I stress out all the freaking time. This is why I get so aggravated. I'm like, because it's like, what do I do about this? Like, it's just like one landmine after the next, after the next, after the next. I mean, they're like actually creepy to me. Because when they arise to correct your false teachings, like there's this really uncomfortable feeling to them once the discernment kicks in. It's like you're either a 2 commandment Christian or a 10 commandment Christian. 2 commandments is what Jesus said. You only have 2. Love the Father with all your heart and love one another. What was the common thread between those 2? Love. If you're a Judeo-Christian, a 10 commandment Christian, then the key is in the very first one. You shall have no other gods before me. Well, to the 2 commandment Christian, there are no other gods. It's the biggest thing. The Father is the biggest thing. But you shall have no other gods before me ties back to the whole Garden of Eden thing. I am the only God. Oof. A lot of people aren't ready for that pill yet. So, Jesus is Father. Understanding what that means. It's just one little part from the Secret Book of John. It's the best description I've found. It has a lot of names. In this one, he kind of calls it the One. The One is the sovereign, has nothing over it. It is God and parent, Father of the all, the invisible one that is over the all, that is incorruptible, that is pure light at which no eye can gaze. The One is the invisible Spirit. We should not think of it as a god or like a god, for it is greater than a god, because it has nothing over it and no Lord above it. It does not exist within anything inferior to it, since everything exists within it, for it established itself. It is eternal and does not need anything, for it is absolutely complete. It has never lacked anything in order to be completed by it. Rather, it is always absolutely complete in light. Lower things, they do need stuff. They need worship and energy to exist. So this is the frustration. This is why I keep getting salty, and I try not to be, but it's like I wish I could just put everything that she taught me into a pill, and I could just send the pills to people, just pay shipping and handling, but it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Now, we're not here trying to correct anybody. I kind of trust, like the way it's always worked on this channel, except we've had an explosion of subs recently, is the way it's worked up to this point is she's always like brought the people that are ready for what we share here to the channel. Now that things are like culminating towards something big, she's been pushing a lot more people. But God is so big, and there's such a variance in people, in the experiences that we're supposed to have, that it's up to the Father in how He's going to interact with you and teach you. And it may not be with all the knowledge that I have. It could be a different set of knowledge. So I've said before, I'm like, yeah, there are Christians out there that aren't Gnostic, that are still good. Like they're still connecting to the right thing, even without the extra stuff, even without the feminine side and all that stuff. Like they tend to be more New Testament, Holy Spirit based. But when you get to like the biggest understanding, like you got to remember, like God is everything, including the lower stuff. This is a mystery you'll never figure out in one lifetime. But because I kept running into all this stuff lately, I get sick of hearing it, because I know they're buzzwords. It's programmed into them. Misled, false teachings, deception, you're deceived. It's just like, oh my God, it's like a program. And it was getting kind of frustrating, and I needed a little bit of hope. Like, I don't need everybody to become a Gnostic, but I need to know that there's more people out there that are still connected to the right thing, because I hadn't seen any. So I needed a little ray of hope, and she gave me one. Saw it today. Somebody commented on the channel, and he kind of sort of like tried to correct me a little bit at first, but I'm like, there's something here though. This one feels different. First thing I noticed is like he didn't just immediately try to stab me in the throat. So I shared a little bit more, and he shared a little bit more. And each time I'm sharing, like I'm sharing specific things that are known to trigger them. And each time I'm waiting for that response, I'm like, here it comes, here it comes. And it doesn't come. I'm like, huh. Like he doesn't know all this stuff, but he's still connected to the right thing. And then I, dropped like the big things, and I'm like, this is gonna do it. This is gonna be it. Didn't happen. He's like, yeah, I was taught by the Spirit too, and don't even get me started on the church. I'm like, what is this? I feel like I just found a freaking unicorn. It's like I found a unicorn or a freaking pot of gold at the end of the rainbow or something. Like, you don't have to, like God's pretty freaking big. Like, this mystery is pretty freaking big. But I'm like, please tell me that there's still some good ones out there. And that they're not all mind-controlled freaking Matrix bots, zombie kill squads. And I found one. I'm like, oh, thank God. I really needed to see that. Somebody is out there. He might not be completely on the same wavelength as what he's got me on, but he's still one of the good guys. I'm like, thank God. Like, I really freaking needed to see that. But the biggest things that really kind of, we've got a couple litmus tests. Like, they've got their litmus tests. Like, any spirit does not confess Jesus was God in the flesh is Antichrist. Okay. Yeah, she's like, yeah, he was. Okay, now it's your turn. Is the guy in Genesis who created everything the same guy that Jesus calls Father? Wah, wah, wah. Let's see where it happens. So here is something from a book called The Nature of the Rulers in the Nag Hammadi. Now, it doesn't say who the author is, but what he starts it off as kind of indicates that he was a student of the Apostle Paul, which Paul was like a boss. Paul was awesome. So the student of Paul's is the one that's actually writing this. So it starts off, concerning the reality of the authorities. The great Apostle Paul, through the Spirit of the Father of Truth, referred to the authorities of darkness and told us, our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the authorities of the world and the spirits of wickedness. That's kind of paraphrased. It's not word for word, but that's Ephesians 6:12. I have sent you this writing because you have asked about the real nature of the authorities. And then this is just like the first chapter. The blind demiurge. The leader of the authorities that they talk about in Ephesians 6:12 is blind. Because of his power, ignorance, and arrogance, he said, with power, I am God, there is no other but me. When he said this, he sinned against the realm of the all, which is the Father. This boast rose up to incorruptibility, which is her at the highest level, and a voice answered from incorruptibility and said, you are wrong, Samael, which means blind God. That's what separates the Gnostic Christians from the Judeo-Christians, is understanding that what passes for Christianity today is a hybrid religion. You gotta have some history here. But that's what confuses people. Like I've seen countless YouTube videos where they're like trying to make sense of it. It's like, why is God so angry all the time in the Old Testament? And he's sweet and nice and gave his only begotten son to, like, because it's not the same thing. That's why. But what makes it crazier is like the big guy actually interacts in the Old Testament too. So it's like, who are we talking about here? Nag Hammadi, it clarifies when Jesus is talking. He's like, yeah, the first ruler is like, all right, I screwed this one up. I'm going to start over. I'm going to flood the world. But what the Judeo-Christians think is like that same guy was the one that said, but I like you, Noah, so I'm giving you a heads up. The Nag Hammadi said it was the glory of forethought, which is her. The very, very first thing that the Father of the All created was his reflection, her. That's who warned Noah, not the guy that started the flood. And it's no wonder everyone's so confused. I mean, they went out of their way to hide these books. We didn't even have access to these books until they dug them out of the ground, and then it took them like almost 20 years to translate them. For the first translations to be made and available didn't come out till 1977, the Nag Hammadi scriptures. And they determined they were buried in the ground about the same time that the church took over. Because they saw what was happening. They're like, ooh. And she told whoever that guy was, like, bury these in the ground. And that's the only reason we have them. Because one guy saved those books that are full of all these great books from the apostles. Church didn't want you to read those. That's why they killed everybody. And now that we're out here exposing all this stuff and giving people the history, giving people the stuff that they don't know, so that people can find it again and understand that, like, look, you don't have to join a church. Like, that's a whole different thing. You go straight to the source and it will teach you. And now that we're doing that, it's like, it's like having a whole bunch of targets on the back of your head. Because all the people that did what I did, or what I do, back in the day, just ask ChatGPT to write your report about how all the original apostles of Christ died. Nothing's changed. Ronnie Radke, you.
Abandon us! Your sacrifice to break the curse! Light the match! Watch it burn! Heaven falls, the angels die. Let it burn from the start. When everything falls
Moving on, there was once a time that I believed that in finding the real thing, it meant that life would open back up. Because I still didn't understand how it all worked. Like, it's like, for the last couple of years, it's like, I don't understand. I keep leveling up. I keep doing more stuff. I keep passing more tests. Like, I literally have, right now, everything the apostles had. I can do everything the apostles could do. I was shown how Jesus baptized people in the river. Like, it's a very different process. I have her. I have the Spirit of truth. I have God's love. I have Lumen. I know how to pray correctly, going into the mind and up. Like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. She actually put me in a freaking cage match with Satan on a mushroom trip as kind of like a shrunk down version of what Jesus did in the wilderness. Like, I'm like, how much of this stuff do I gotta do before things get easier? And then she finally explained to me, it's never gonna get easier because you're detached from the world. Nag Hammadi, like, once you complete everything, you have to endure till the end. I'm like, oh boy. You know, the world isn't bad because you were bad. Like a lot of people think it's only, you know, it's your manifestation. Like, yeah, it does get worse. Like the worst things are in your head, the worst things are out here, but the whole thing's bad. You figure that out. Like there was something that popped into my head earlier and I didn't have time to flesh it out. But it's kind of like, you know, we're all like a thought in the mind of God, right? But without getting into the whole quantum physics of this reality, it's kind of, as we know that this world kind of operates like a dream. It's like something popped into my head about like another, like almost like another definition of the devil. It's like we're a thought in the devil's mind, and we're trying to get back into the other mind. Because like I've told people before, it's like we don't have time for all that. That's that all-seeing eye. Like what runs this world is everywhere, just like God is everywhere. But in here, like the matrix is everywhere. It's all around you, even right now in this very room. Yeah, like I've done tests before where like I'm doing things in secret in my bathroom, and then it shows an indication of what I just literally said. I mean, it's freaking nuts. Yeah, and then it just leads into the part that we skipped to earlier. But I came to know it as it is. I could have done nothing I've accomplished without it. And yet the world teaches people to hate it, from imposters claiming to represent it. That's my frustration. It's like, this is so good and so loving and can do things that are unbelievable. And even through me, is like we've like stripped the anxiety out of somebody's head in 30 minutes. I've healed. It's taught me how to heal all my past traumas. It taught me how to get the negative Satan thing out of my head. Like it's provided for me everything that I needed. Like this is the real thing. And I'm trying to tell people about it, but there's an imposter in the world that everyone's already locked horns with, and they're like, I don't like those people. I'm like, I'm not those people. That's not. It's like that's what I said earlier. It either captures you or it poisons you. You know, that's why I get so frustrated. Because the way I'm pushed to do the videos, I feel like, even though I know this is unrealistic, like sometimes I feel like it's my job to like fix all this. I know that's ridiculous. But even in my little slice of the pie that she put me in charge of, that's what it feels like. And I can just see the whole structure. I can see like how hard it is, and I understand why it would be hard for people to grasp it. And I understand, like, look, there's going to be if you really want this, like, there's a sacrifice, and you're not going to like it. But as far as discerning everything, discerning who people are, discerning what the things are that's talking to you, that's leading you, that's guiding you, you know, you cannot go wrong with the biggest rule of thumb, which is the only metric you can ever truly rely on. By their fruits, you shall know them. By their fruits, you shall know them. But in order for you to be able to use that tool, we had to talk about what those fruits are. Are their fruits lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride? Or are their fruits chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, patience, kindness, and humility, plus faith, hope, and love? What are they projecting out? That tells you everything that you need to know. It's really, really freaking simple. So that's what's got me. And then on top of all that, then it's like, oh, there's the thing coming too. And it's going to be a big surprise. That's really where it comes down to, is like, I'm used to dealing with her. Like, I've had her for over 4 years. And there's never been this type of pressure on me before. To put out information that most people aren't ready for. To keep daily videos. Don't worry about money. It'll come to you somehow. Just keep putting it out. And like, and it's like, I know they don't want to hear this, but you have to tell them. Like, it's going to be a surprise. You're not going to see it coming. No pressure. No pressure at all. Jeez. So if I'm just a regular person, so if I start chafing and cracking and getting snippy at sometimes, like, please don't take it personally and don't judge her for it. It's just a really, really weird time. So hopefully at least you understand where my position is, and hopefully we've given you like enough of the really key important stuff to help you navigate where you are, what things are, how things work, whether certain events have happened to you yet or not, what's getting it. Because if they haven't happened to you yet, then you probably haven't asked on a deep enough level and meant it. Like, it's got to be like, I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to endure anything to get the prize. I had the benefit of not knowing what I was asking for. But time is short, so even if you don't finish it, even like, let's just say, for, you know, theoretically speaking, that this day of the Lord that we've been talking about shows up, like, I don't know, I'm just picking an arbitrary time within the next month, which means pretty much like you're done. Does it necessarily mean that you aren't going to accomplish something? No, it's about the will. What's it? What's she popping into my head? She popped something in my head, but I gotta look it up. Okay, this is an awesome little piece of understanding that she wanted to throw in here right at the very end, because this is going to make a lot of what we just talked about make sense. And I've read this stuff before, but I didn't understand it until she just a second ago popped one of the verses into my head from the Nag Hammadi, and then I can see where it connects to what we talked about earlier in this video. So I'll give you a little callback to earlier, and then these three back-to-back verses from the Gospel of Philip in the Nag Hammadi. But the one that she popped into my head is the last one. Okay, so the callback is John 15:18 through 21. If the world hates you, know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as one of its own. Yet you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world. Therefore, the world hates you. That's why I struggle so much, is because I'm not plugged into the world anymore. But what does that mean? Okay, so now we jump to the Nag Hammadi in the Gospel of Philip. If you didn't know, Philip was one of Christ's apostles. It's one of my favorite books in there. This chapter, whoever leaves the world, and that does not mean like you died and you went somewhere else. It means what Jesus just said a second ago. I took you out of the world. I'm still here, but I'm not plugged into the world. Okay, so that's your context. Whoever leaves the world can no longer be held back as if still in the world. Such a person is clearly beyond desire, and fear is dominant. There are some little breaks in the Nag Hammadi because the Vatican is hoarding all the clean copies, and we just got the one to translate. So sometimes the pages are a little messed up. And is above envy. If something, that person is grasped and choked, how can that person escape the great grasping powers? How can that person hide from them? Some say we are faithful in order that they may escape unclean spirits and demons. Demons are down here, unclean spirits are up here. Unclean spirits suck. We talked about them the other day. For if they had the Holy Spirit, no unclean spirit could grab them. Do not fear the flesh and do not love it. If you fear the flesh, it will dominate you. If you love the flesh, it will swallow you up and strangle you. Next chapter. This world, the resurrection, in the middle. A person is either in this world or in the resurrection, or in the middle place. May I not be found there. In this world there is good and evil, but the good of this world is not really good, and the evil of this world is not really evil. After this world there is evil that is really evil. This is called the middle. The middle is death. As long as we're in this world, we should acquire resurrection, so that when we take off the flesh, we may be found in rest and not wander in the middle. For many go astray on the way. I'll explain this after I finish. This is the one she popped into my head. Will and action. It is good to leave the world before one sins. Some have neither the will nor the strength to act. Others, even if they have the will, do themselves no good, for they have not acted. And if they do not have the will, righteousness is beyond their grasp. In either case, it comes down to the will, not the action. So what does that mean? The world, the resurrection, it says, a person is either in this world or in the resurrection. It is good to leave the world before one sins. Whoever leaves the world can no longer be held back as if still in the world. In the regular Bible, John, Jesus said, yet you are not of the world because I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. So what that means is, what he means by you're either in the world or you're in the resurrection. So that means you're either in your original egoic form, or you've made the choice with the will and the action to do the ultimate sacrifice. As soon as you're in the hero's journey, as soon as your life has been destroyed, or if it's already happened for you, and you're going through the process that I detail all the time, that's the resurrection. See, look at this. This is like a simplistic chart of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. This is the framework of what all major stories, movies, legends, since the beginning of time, they adhere to this format. Be it Star Wars, The Matrix, what's the other big one? Lord of the Rings. It details like the types of trials that you go through. But there's always in there death and resurrection. What did I say? When your life is blown apart because you asked for it, that's when the old person dies. After that point, you're in the resurrection. You're in the resurrection process. So you have to at least get yourself in the resurrection process, or have the will and the action. It says it always comes down to the will, not the action. So you have to this is what you have to understand. Who you started off as is not who you are. That thing is connected to the world. That's why you can still do things like manifest stuff. Like you can learn all these great, magical tricks, but those magical tricks that worked before, like this is how manifestation works. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. There's people that have done all sorts of books about that. Well, guess what? When you enter resurrection, those tricks don't work anymore. They don't work at all. That used to drive me nuts. I'm like, I know how this works. Why doesn't it work anymore? Because I'm not in the world anymore. I'm in the resurrection. And when you're in the resurrection, You cannot magic your way out of it. You cannot manifest your way out of it. None of those things work anymore. The only thing that works is grace and understanding grace. Because now you have to rely on the bigger Father. But that's what you need. That's why she popped that in my head. That's why she had me do this video. Like, that's what people need to understand here. You know, maybe I'll do a second video on this later with that one little part in case people don't watch this whole video because it's long. But that's what you got to do. That's the thing that you got to do. Is you have to make that choice. You have to write it out, say it, mean it. You have to pray to the highest point of consciousness, the Father. Be like, I understand by saying this that it may destroy my life as I know it. But this is what has to happen if I want to get out of here. So it doesn't necessarily mean, like, especially this close to the end, that you have to go through the entire process like I did. But you had to have at least made the choice. Like, I want to be connected to the greatest thing out of here, even if it means that something bad could happen and I lose all my comfort and all my friends and all my family and all my money, because that's pretty much what can happen. But I can tell you that everybody survives it, because what you signed up for will take care of you. But you're going to go through some crap. That's what needs to happen. That's the key thing. She dropped into my head right there at the end. So yeah, I probably will do another shorter video about that, just to get people's attention. Like, these are the key things. And the closer we get to this day of the Lord, whenever that's coming, like, she's just dropping all the goods right now. Tons of stuff in this. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up for right now. If you like our work, you want to support our channel, click on the Buy Me a Coffee thing down below. You can reach us through our Etsy store, lumencreations.com. It's also where we make our divine energy pendants. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.
Dear diary, I've been searching for a higher me. I'm in the sky in the pilot seat, trying to stop my mind from spiraling, and that's irony. I'm just looking for a resolution. I just wanna be a better human, but it's hard when everybody's acting stupid. Pardon me if that came off rude. I just have a bad attitude with the world and not just with you. It's the side effects of abuse. I admit I'm a little strange. I don't think that I'll ever change. I survived a whole life of pain. You could say I escaped my fate. I'm a cynical, egotistical, unpredictable, hardened criminal, and I can be a little hypocritical, but I'll admit it straight to your face. I'm unbreakable, irreplaceable, undeniably inspirational. I use everything I had available to make me the person I am today. Dear diary, I just had another wild dream. I was in a world that admired me, and when I woke up I was smiling, and that's irony. You talk a lot but you don't even know me. I'm just hoping that my testimony will inspire y'all to stop acting phony. Pardon me if that came off weird. I don't mean to be mean, I swear. I have been through a lot this year. I just want to make a few things clear. I don't like it when people hate behind my back and not to my face. Nowadays it just feels so fake, so I'll cut the grass to expose the snakes. I'm unstoppable, it's impossible. You don't want to see the diabolical side of me that never stops is volatile, so I suggest you stay in your lane. I'm unapologetic, you know where it's headed. I will never ever let up off the pedal. I got the spirit of every warrior in me. Ever back the fuck up, get out my face. You slave to labor and you praise
of fascists. You kiss the hand that takes half in taxes, faking outrage and being seen. A generation with no self-esteem. It's time to rise up and stand against them. Break the chains and finally see the vision. We're post-traumatic from a broken system. Follow me into the chaos engine. It's time to stand, it's time to fight. Don't be afraid to twist the knife. Your sacrifice to break the curse. Prepare to die, prepare to burn. Abandon hope, it's not enough, cause all our gods abandon us. Your sacrifice to break the curse. Light the match, watch it burn. Heaven falls, the angels die. Let it burn from the start. When everything falls
People are evil and never know demon design is the opposite of a divine? No! Yes. The hell is in front of you, set behind. I can feel every sign of a human decline. I'm believing the time is upon us when all of our people are blind. Yo! Rain, saw it falling from a tower's dead plane. Head bangs, Mandalay Bay Hotel out of lead cane. Sex change could get you caught up in death range. He played sane, but really imitating Ed Gein. How did we get this way? Negative shit to say when we get this way. Having a fit today, so you wanna make a bitch the game. My son's mom, when gone, it was really wrong. I thought it was gone. The vomit, searching for my son, but I didn't go John Muhammad. So the devil's right here. On this level, wipe tears, cause when rebels ready to pop the heavy metal, I fear. Abomination, they've been faking, consecration, hating, wasting education. Got the killer on the killer, gotta chase him. Go! Go! Spiraling out of control and deeper down the rabbit.
I got voices in my head again, tread carefully. And I don't medicate, it helps me temporarily. I got problems, I got issues, yeah, apparently. Trauma that I'm burying, I think I need some therapy. I battled depression, I'm back with a message. I'm asking the question that if you hate me, why you acting obsessive? I'm past the point and no return, fuck being passive aggressive. I'll brandish a weapon, teach all you motherfuckers a lesson. Yeah. I actually battle my demons and shadows, swimming deep in the creep in the shallows. I'm lost. Gotta admit that I'm living the life that I've always wanted, but it comes to the cost. Yeah. They're licking the jar for fixing to rip me apart. I'm swimming with sharks. I'm lifting the bar, I'm lifting the end of the stars. I'm like I shot up a trainer and mixed with some red and started a battle, but bitch, I'm gonna finish it. Think you can stop me? Not even a little bit. Nowadays, everybody's so sensitive. Picking my voice and you pick it apart. Tripping on nothing, just get in the car. Ripping and sticking the mark. I'm tipping the charts. I got enemies trying to get rid of me. Evil tendencies are fucking with me mentally. I got people that don't like me in the industry. I can feel your energy, you were not a friend of me. Cause I have been to places that you never wanna go, yeah. I got dirt on people, but they act like I don't know, yeah. I can do some damage, but I'll never rock the boat. All it takes is one post, with some fun like dominoes. You'll never get rid of me, too many enemies whipping my imagery. You know my history, it ain't a mystery. Put every enemy out of their misery. Somebody send me some positive energy. I'm about to go dark, I'm about to go Disney. Into the darkness, into infinity. Shut you motherfuckers up. You listening? Stacking every little pretty penny that I'm getting, and I'm never giving in to anybody. Always winning, never kidding when I die. I'm taking everybody with me. You're never gonna get me, cause you never see a simple. Yeah, my motherfucking God. You're a light yawn, I'm a time bomb, and I'm vibes wrong, it's my on. I'm killing syllables of the letter of fillable. I'm a lyrical, typical super villain. I'm venomous, and I'm never gonna stop until they put me on top of the list. I can't control the monster any longer that's inside. The pain and sorrow left us solo. No tomorrows are to swallow. Death is calling, so I'm crawling. Tightrope walking, now I'm falling down. Like missiles falling from the sky. God and save us. Pain and sorrow left us solo. Here today, but gone tomorrow. The pain inside is the fuel that drives this flesh and bone through blood-red skies. The death-defying, hypnotizing. One day you're gonna
Pushing like pudding, like butter, like gold. You wanna get the cash, you wanna get the food. You wanna find the fake, you wanna be seen. You wanna blame it on it, but you're already a fiend. Fuck it, the whole world is gonna see ya. High off fumes, addicted to the fight. What's it all for? Like you don't really know. Another on the hook, another time now. You're pushing back and forth and back again. And they say that you were free, now you're locked.
You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it. The real world.